All right, let's do this. How's everybody doing today? It is Tuesday on a non-October day. Yeah, I was talking about art yesterday, and I kind of laughed because they I have never told them no. Let's start it that way. I have never told my job no. It was last year. You guys saw the pumpkin that I carved with Freddy Krueger. If you didn't, I carved a Freddy Krueger pumpkin because they asked me to do something like that. They do a lot of like expecting, things from me. But because they're kind of like shunning me at work, and I think they don't realize that I've noticed it. They have had the whole talk with me about like, you've changed, and why you changed and stuff like that. So, but they've done that. But I will say, when it comes to art projects and stuff like that, I have never told them no, I wouldn't do, or something of that nature. But they've decided they don't want to rely on me, and they've asked other people. And watching them literally struggle with these projects. And just so you know, they tout themselves as artists, and they're mostly a doodler, but they have none of the fundamentals. And I literally just like whip, 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 whip. Oh, why don't you try this? There's little secret shortcuts you can do. You don't have to do everything in pencil. You can just do everything in pen. And if you make a mistake, you own it instead of trying to correct it. And they just didn't. It just did not even it didn't compute like this. And after a while of them struggling with doing these it was stupid shit. It was stuff that I would have whipped out really easy, but they took an entire day doing it. And they took an entire day doing it, and I don't think they finished. And I don't know what they did yesterday. Everybody's kind of like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not in high school. I don't play these games. I know some of you are really close to high school, and that's what you're used to, or all you know. But so tired of it. But yeah, but they never asked me, so there was a point where he was kind of like going, can I use this, what I drew? And I was like, yeah. I think this is the reason. Sorry, I bit my tongue. I think this is the reason why AI is so fucking popular is because people don't have to learn the fundamentals. They don't have to, you know, it's like they feel like they're skipping to the good part. And maybe they don't see the use in the fundamentals. And maybe for some artists it is not important. Maybe it's not important at all. For me, it's my foundation. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I would have skipped the steps gotten right into, doing my own thing, and I don't know how different my art would be without it. If I had AI, guiding me, I don't know if I would be a proponent, like an advocate for AI. But I definitely know that having a background like I have, when I see people who are so used to having somebody else do it for them, they just can't. They don't understand why they can't. They don't understand why they can't visualize, they were trying to copy, from one picture to the other, and it was a picture of a drawing, not the actual drawing, and so they lost perspective because the picture wasn't taken straight on. It was taken kind of like at an angle. So they literally drew from small to big. And then they told me, and I'm not kidding you, they didn't say that it was how it looked to me, and I visualized it and I put it on paper. They said I always do that. And I was like going, yeah, but so I showed him a little quick trick where you just put a little line to each out, and I said, and you could use a ruler, so that it stays on those lines. So you don't have that perspective, but I had to even explain to him, like, going, it's the picture, the picture is taken at an angle, it's not taken straight on, and it's messing with your head. You're still drawing it at an angle, but you want it to be a flat picture. things in 3D and have forced perspective and depth. Like my brain just goes like this. I'm like going, and you're going to school for art. I weep. I really do. The artist community is just definitely going to just basically die. Storytellers in my generation are gone, and the artist the storytellers died in my generation, and the artists are going to die in the next generation. There'll be those few holdouts, like I tout myself as a storyteller. I pat myself on the back as, the last of a dying breed. And there's not going to be, it was like when I was watching the movie Big Fish about a storyteller. It's one of the reasons why I love that movie so much. But watching Big Fish, and at the end, it's the reason why I fucking hate the ending, is that, his son doesn't become a storyteller, even though his dad basically said, even though Edward Bloom said, you are a storyteller, just like me. And I was like going, I kept thinking, like going, it doesn't work that way. He's not. The creation of the story doesn't exist for him. What he's doing is remembering the stories that were told to him, and those are fancy and fanciful and magical even. That's an amazing thing. But, repeating stories, stories passed down and stuff like that, yes, it's the storyteller, but usually the storyteller is the one, creating the story. It's the one telling for the audience. And whether that story is books and stuff like that, but I have to tell you, because people don't want to be creative anymore, I would even go so far as to say what's written in books is kind of like a dismal display of what storytelling used to be. I like the modernist novel. I'm very, and there's definitely some in our postmodern, postmodern era that we live. People do write modern, modernist novels today. they're few and far between, and they're very difficult to find. But the I'm not going to say that the art of the novelist is gone. Just it's not real storytelling. It can be, but it's not. It's in the end, it's not. If that makes sense. Storytelling will always just be storytelling, and written words and stuff like that. Now, a person reading a story from a book is technically storytelling, except they're reading it word for word. If they became creative and imagine something different than what's on the page, then that would be an actual storyteller. Does that make sense? Do you disagree? Get thoughts together. And my tongue hurts. I don't know. Do I sound? Do you sound different since I bit my tongue? Or do I sound different since I bit my tongue? Doing that, touching my cheek, how it does. Can't bite my cheek. Yeah, so that's my viewpoint. That's how I see it. And like I said, it's one perspective and a lot of perspectives, but it is. I definitely have seen firsthand the destruction that AI is doing, and the saddest thing about it is it's like people are acting like, well, the genie's already out of the bottle, so in order to compete in future things as an artist, you're gonna have to use AI. No. You're going to have to fucking struggle. You're going to have to fucking learn how to fucking draw. You're going to have to learn to be fucking creative and think for yourself. That's what you're going to have to do. Learning AI is not part of that. Learning AI is the exact opposite of that, actually. explain to a non-artist um, what an artist actually is. Not my job. We are definitely lesser for because of it. Yeah, somebody pulled over to the side of the road, but the cars behind them just kept coming flying. They almost crashed. Yeah. Because my description of storytelling is not it's fluid. It changes. And people can come to me and they're gonna be like, but yeah, since it changes, can't I be, you know, it's like, well, but you're not. You know, can't I, you know, using an AI algorithm, can't I consider myself an artist? No. Somebody else drew that. The AI stole it. Created it for you. You did not create it. You did not draw it. You did not do any of that shit. Why would you consider yourself, even for a moment? I mean, I know people consider themselves AI artists, but it's like, why would it doesn't go together? You're either an artist or you use AI. Writing in words for an algorithm to freaking, you know, interpret is not artistry. It's not creative even. In fact, I can't stress this enough. It's the exact opposite of being creative. Reading books, which people don't do anymore, but reading books and you know, compared to watching a movie. The thing about reading a book that makes it so amazing to me is it's my imagination. It's my creativity. I'm interpreting what the book says. And when you can go so far, and I think I've even talked about this, about how like when I read Dracula many years ago, you know, as a teenager, I remember the story wrong. I could have told an entirely different Dracula story. I could have told an entirely different Dracula story, and the one that was in my head, and it would have been completely different than Bram Stoker's Dracula. When I watch a movie, there isn't that. I don't create images in my mind. It is the image. I see what their interpretation is, for good or for bad. Bad special effects can ruin movies for that very reason, because it's a visual medium. But with a book, you don't have to have special effects. You just have to have a fucking imagination. I laugh when people talk about how much they love The Princess Bride, and it's like, The Princess Bride is actually almost irony into itself. Especially because they got Fred Savage and Peter Falk, doing the whole grandson thing. Reading a book. It's how I'm feeling about AI these days. When it's your own stuff, your own imagination, your own creativity, your own, all this other stuff, or when it's my own built, my own interpretation, I'm not going to let some AI come in, ever. I would actually, I think I would literally vomit and throw it all away. But ever interpret, what I want to do creatively. Good place to end. Cool beans in the comments below, and wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a fantastic time doing it. You guys are enjoying yourself, and wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a great day. I really do. All right, take care. All right.